Hello, welcome back to the next session of Creating Art Over 70 with Science Rufus. We're going to continue on with another still life piece. This particular piece I'm going to do in charcoal. It's a reference that I photographed when I was at this event. At this event, it was an art event, but outside the art event, they had a number of classical cars that were I guess they were displaying their cars, and then so I just took a couple of pictures of some photos of a few. In this particular one, I think I'd like to try to paint it, but I'm going to do it in charcoal. So I'm all geared up, and we're going to be using Canson paper again for this particular piece, and I think that's enough. So I'm geared up, ready to go, so let's get started. Thank you so much for watching. Blessings. Okay, here, as with my other paintings, I try to lay in my base shapes first, and so I'm going to be working on that. I'm working on the base shapes first, and then I'll start to bring in more of the tonal values in order to be able to see the form and the detail. Thank you. Okay, now that I've gotten an idea where I want to lay the car in at with some of the larger shapes, I'm going to come in with some line work and try to establish the form just a little bit more. Get some of the outlines in so I can see where I'm going with the piece itself. The one thing I know I try to do here is to establish, I'd like to try and establish a starting point for the piece. Once I get the line work in where I could see where I'm going with the piece, then I can start to bring in the tonal values a little more. And I'll be going in, trying to go in pretty relatively light here so that I can come back in and pull out what is not needed for the piece. This piece, I think this piece is going to be a real challenge here. There's a lot of detail in it, and also there's a variety of different shapes and forms to capture within that detail. So it's going to be a nice little challenging piece. Okay, now that I've dropped in quite a bit of the line work, so I can see where the actual car will be in its proportions, I can see them relatively well. I'm going to start to go in and put in more of the, start to work in the tonal values. I didn't want to go too far with the line work because I may not be seeing the actual form or shape correctly because of the lights and the shadows. And so instead of trying to really sketch in all of the line work, I'm going to build in more of the tonal values in the form and the structure, so I can begin to see the shapes and the forms clear, a little more legibly. I'm trying to go in relatively light as I can and be able to capture what I'm doing in the recording to some degree. Quite a bit of this will probably be offline because it's really difficult for me. I'm pushing my arm. I'm really pushing it, and I'm trying to be able to control my strokes without adding too much pressure, too heavy of a stroke. That's what I'm trying to get accomplished right now. So, this piece. Okay, just a quick update as to what I've been trying to accomplish here. I've been getting in pretty tight, pretty close, trying to really start to capture the form of the car because it's kind of rounded. It has a lot of curvature, and I'm trying to capture that. And so what I did, my plan was to start to bring in some of the darkest values of the piece, which would be the crevices or the spaces down in between the doors and different things like that underneath the runner, things like that. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And in order to really see the contour of the curve, how everything was shaping out with respect to the vehicle, not only in its perspective, but in its horizontal axis here also. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And so what I'm going to continue on doing is I'm still going to be up close and tight. I'm going to continue on building in the tonal values. That's what I'm doing, trying to build in the tonal values so you can really start to see the form of the doors, the windows, and things like that, different pieces and components of the car itself. That's what I'm trying to do. And so the plan is to work more down into this direction and then move forward a little bit and maybe take in the hood at the same time. I'm trying to save this because what I was doing when I was laying in the actual form was I started to see I was having difficulty seeing the full perspective as to how, for example, this light set in the composition with respect to this light and with respect to the rest of the car itself. And so what I saw myself doing was getting a little elongated with this particular portion of the piece. So I decided to hold off and bring this forward so I could really get a real well-defined understanding for myself as to where the piece is going with respect to capturing the forms of the car itself. I'm gonna, later on when I start to bring in the background of the composition, I'll try to record that because the plan is to really to keep the existing lighting direction that's shown in the reference photo, and to see what I could do with it on paper. That's the plan going forward. Okay, thanks again so much for watching Creating Art Over 70 with Sign Rufus. Let's continue on. Blessings. Okay, so far I've gotten in the forms really laid in as to how I like them, and so now I'm still going to be working it close and tight. I'm going to bring the forms down a little more in this area here, and into this area here. Start to lay in some more of the forms, and also the bumper area, and then once I get that laid in, then I could start to bring in the background portion of the composition, so that I'll be able to see how to bring the tonal values up as to how dark or light I need them. But I always seem to need the background component of the composition laid in to see how dark or light it is, so I could work with the actual subject of the piece. So I'm going to work a little bit more in here, bringing it in, and then when I start to lay in the background portion of the composition, I'm going to try to record that so you can see a little bit of the process that I'm doing to lay that in for as the background component of the composition. And then I think for the last little piece, when I start to bring out the tonal values a little bit better, to finalize some of the detail, refined detail, then I'll start to work on the lights and some of the other mirrors and some of the other things, the shades in these areas here. It's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be fun. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching Creating Art Over 70, Sign Rufus. Here I have the direction that I'm going pretty much laid in, so now I'm going to start to bring in the background composition part of the composition, so that I can see visually as to how much detail I think that I can accomplish in the car without going too heavy with respect to the tonal values before I have the background part of the composition laid in. I plan to keep the background portion of the composition very, very subtle, which is my attempt or intent to try to maintain the viewer's attention with the subject of the composition, and not, get all caught up or distracted with the technical parts of the creating the art piece. Meaning what I'm saying, like in the reference, there's a bunch of bushes I could try to paint into the background portion of the composition, but I think I'm going to leave that out in order to keep the background portion of the composition subtle. Also, by laying in the background composition, I'll be able to really see how the tires themselves come into play with respect to the car itself and the ground portion of the composition. Instead of staying in tight, I'm attempting to do a little bit more of the recording to show how I bring in my tonal values to get them darker, lighter, to get them forms going. Here I'm going to bring in some more of the background composition to get it to place. When I'm using what I use for the powdered charcoal, I have two types of powdered charcoals. I have what is called a premium version, and I have the willow version. And with the premium version, it seems to be able to lay down coverage a little darker than with the willow. I use the willow when I'm first starting out to get the actual composition that I'm trying to accomplish, background, whatever it is, and to get the silhouettes going. So I really like to use the willow for that. And then I come back with the premium when I need to get a larger coverage with the darker value. Then I'll come in with the premium. I've started to define some of the other details. Going to darken all of this a little bit. As far as what's going to be really challenging, and I'm looking forward to it, is a lot of the mirrors and the windows. The windows have some shades in them that is going to be kind of a challenge to get to them. With this, I'm looking forward to that. But with the premium charcoal powder, it really covers well. But it is a darker value, so if you're looking for that, note that the premium powdered charcoal has a darker value coming in. I'm going to try to record as much as I can in this process. But quite a bit of it, the project kind of forces me to go in close and tight to get some of the finer details, or just some of the really tight section of the piece itself. But I will try to record as much as I possibly can here, since we've gotten it to where we're almost home, but not quite. Still have a lot to do. We'll still have a lot to do in the windows. Oh, that's going to be a challenge, doing all the windows. Next portion of this, I'm going to probably be getting up tight to finish up the lights and maybe to run some more of the other detail, and then come back and try to share some. Okay, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna start to bring in the window section, and then I'll attempt to work on a little bit more of the wall section of the background composition, so that I can get a little bit more contrast between it and the car itself. So the front end of the car at least won't look so flat. And I've been working heavily on a lot of the detail, in the piece, and I've worked quite a bit up close, and now I wanted to try to back off a little bit so you can get to see some of the process of what I'm doing to accomplish this. As I was working with this, I started to bring in the windows, but then I started to see that there wasn't enough contrast between the front part of the car and the background. Was losing some of the features of the car itself, like the hood ornament was getting lost, and it just wasn't sitting. It was looking a little too flat in the piece for me. So to try to bring in some more contrast, I'm going to attempt to darken the background, which is kind of tough. But I'll be going in with a neutral charcoal, not too soft, not hard, probably about a medium. That's what the neutral stands. I just wanted to share a little bit more of what I was doing with you in the painting process. But what I'm trying to do is show you my workflow, some of the processes that I do in order to accomplish what I'm trying to do here. So now it's time to go in and try to tighten up these windows a little more. I've been really working with them offline. Now it's time to bring it home, trying to put some finalization to this piece. Okay, I think I'm going to stop this piece right here. The classic car charcoal painting. This piece was really a challenge. I realized going in that it was going to be quite a bit of detail, but I didn't expect it to be as challenging with respect to the choice of paper. If I had a, in my opinion, if I had a started off in a toned paper, I would have been able to bring out the depth a little more, because a toned paper would have started at a mid tone, and I could have started at the mid tone and worked out. With the white Canson paper here, I had to really push just to get to the mid tones, and then in doing so, I layered some portions of the piece that I really could have kept clear in order to bring up a lighter value. With too much charcoal, and I couldn't recover, especially like in the running board here. I wanted it lighter in here, and what happened was I came out a little too far with it, and as I was trying to work it back, I had committed too much into this area here, so I didn't have the luxury of being able to bring out some of the higher white light values in this area like I did in other portions of the piece. I really enjoyed this. It took a while to do it, and because of that fact, just trying to bring out the things. And then one of the main things I was struggling with was being able to capture good contrast between the car itself and the background portion of the composition. And so I had to come in a lot darker in areas in order to be able to bring out the contrast between the two in this section right here. Forced me to go in there because they had the lighter areas and those type of things. So forced me to go darker in there. And actually, I kind of like that, the way it contrasts now with respect to the darker colors. So I like the feel, I like the flow. The toughest part of this whole piece for me was the wheel. The wheel was so hard. I mean, that elliptical shape, it was really giving me a lot of trouble, and I really had to literally sculpture my way into what you see here in the final piece. And it wasn't until this was the last thing I did. It wasn't until I started bringing in the rim that I was really able to truly sculpture in the elliptical shape of the tire that I was looking for. So that was the toughest piece. I enjoyed it overall. I hope you enjoyed this piece. Let me sign it and get ready to start the next part. I think the next project is going to be another one of the faces, of the 100 faces. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do it in charcoal. I'm enjoying the charcoal. I think I might do it in charcoal. Depending on which piece I choose as to if I'm going to do it in charcoal or not. Okay, so there we have it. The classic car charcoal painting. I'm calling it a classic car, but where I took the reference was I think it was like a bunch of lowriders. I'm not sure if they would have called this a lowrider itself or a classic car. So I'm giving it a classic car feel from my perspective. Okay, so there you go. The classic car charcoal painting. Thank you so much for watching Creating Art Over 70 with Rufus, painting with a passion. See you in the next project. Blessings.